Awesome. So on Monday, I decided to rewrite my entire presentation. Because the way I start talking about bringing the principles into the metaverse is I start by talking about what is the metaverse. And I don't need to talk about that here. We all know that we don't know that what it is yet, because we're still creating it. But some things I wanted to bring up that I normally didn't include was some distinctions. If you notice, I don't capitalize metaverse. I don't believe it's a capitalized word. It is a thing. It's something we're creating. And we don't capitalize internet. So we don't, it's not a proper noun. It's not a name of a company when we're talking about the metaverse. It's lowercase m. And then the other distinction that I wanted to talk about, and I've heard this lingo for years and years, about user experience. But I think the metaverse is very different. Web 1, Web 2, sure, I'm going to go, I'm going to click on something, I'm going to buy something, it's going to get sent to my house, and I'm a user in that regard. But the metaverse is participatory. And so if you start thinking about participatory experience instead of user experience, for one, I don't know about you, I don't like being called a user. I mean, do you feel like a user? Or do you feel like be included? You could be a part of the whole. You could be participating. And when you're designing something for the metaverse, then you think about the people that are interacting with the product that you're designing. Those are participants. And so participation is actually one of the principles of Burning Man. So as I dig into this, you'll start to see how each one of these principles is like, oh yeah, that fits into what I'm doing. And these all work together and create this great melting pot of creativity. So those are just two things I want you to keep in mind while I go through the principle of Burning Man, is that metaverse is lowercase m, and that I'm not going to say user experience or user-generated content. It's participatory experience, and that participants create the content. It's more of a, I don't know, it's kind of like this world here at Awe, that we're all here to work together. So yeah, see, I start my talk with what is the metaverse, and we don't know what it is, but we know it came from Snow Crash. I'm going to speed through these because I kind of feel like you guys know, but if something piques your interest, just raise your hand and I can go further into it. Most people know the metaverse from Ready Player One or The Matrix. We're either escaping into the metaverse or trapped inside of one. I'm not too into that dystopian future look of our world. I think it's beautiful, and there's a balance between the physical and the digital. The metaverse is both physical and digital worlds combined together. It's how we merge them. And I think that we need to keep our feet firmly attached to this beautiful planet that we have and take care of her beautiful gifts. This is, by the way, Iguazu Falls in Argentina. So everybody keeps saying, what is the metaverse? What is the metaverse? What is the metaverse? And it's the M word, and if it was a drinking game, we'd all be sloshed by now. But the metaverse is a vision that spans many companies in the whole industry, and you could think of it as the successor to the mobile internet, and it's certainly not something any one company is going to make. And Mark Zuckerberg has said this actually a few times now, and a lot of people have reiterated what he said. So, oops, and then that went one slide too far. So welcome to our metaverse. This is BRCvr. This is there is a missing, endangered, elderly person, probably right here in this conference hall. Okay. Amber Alerts are kind of like a metaversal thing because we are utilizing our technology to get the word out to as many people as possible to help somebody in need. I think it's a beautiful thing. So not everything is dystopian future. So this is Burning Man, but this is digital Burning Man, but it looks just like virtual, a physical Burning Man, whatever. They're all one and the same. This was from 2021. And Burning Man's always been a type of metaverse. If you think of you're wandering around in the dust, and that's sort of your general interoperable plane, and you can go into a theme camp or an art installation or an art car and have that experience. And that experience leads you into a completely different world, kind of like going to a different platform, going into a different experience. So when we created BRCvr, we were just doing what we knew. And so when people say, oh my God, you created this metaversal experience, 200 worlds, 3,500 hours of programming, and we're like, yeah, but we were just doing what we knew. So this is Burn Night from 2021. And we're all on a Zoom call. This is how we did our walkie-talkie system. Up at the top corner, you can see a whole bunch of avatars in front of a screen. So that's a live performance of fire performers broadcast into a virtual space with avatars, people, embodied avatars, watching it, with us watching them. And all of us were in a different, and some of these people you'll recognize are here right now. Actually, almost everybody on that screen. And we were all in different instances of the same event, making sure all the tech was working. So again, very meta. But I still haven't said what the metaverse is. Because all I want to talk about is how. How is it going to happen? So I'm going to play a quick video.
I think we have to start from principles, right? Most of the industry goes wrong when companies focus just on their interests and don't think about the full reciprocity of how do I want this to work as a consumer? How do I want this to work as Epic? How do I want this to work as a partner of Epic or a participant in this new medium? I think we have to look at it from all perspectives and lay out basic foundational principles as opposed to just doing. I think the popular thing now for tech companies is to just do whatever that you think you can get away with. And that doesn't really cut it.
And I've heard other people echo this same thing, that we need to have something. It isn't just creating a game. It's creating a platform for life to exist on. And so we do need some foundational principles. Now, I've also heard people talk about attributes. Matthew Ball has 7 attributes, and I've combined those with the principles of Burning Man and laid it out. And now Tony Parisi has 7 rules. So we have rules, we have principles, we have attributes, we have tenets, but we're all kind of saying the same thing. So for 35 years, Burning Man has been functioning with a set of principles. Actually, it's not quite 35 years. They came into being in 2004. They were written by Larry Harvey, who is not known for brevity, but they are 492 words. Oh, yeah. How many burners do we have? I was supposed to ask that at the beginning. Okay, awesome. How many people here, their news feed on their social media gets super quiet right around August, and like all your friends have gone out to the desert, and the traffic in San Francisco is amazing because like all these people are gone? Right? Do you have that experience? Yeah. Fantastic. So Larry Harvey's the founder of Burning Man. And as a response to a question that actually I had for him and a couple other people, we asked him, what is Burning Man? We need this answer because we're pulling permits from city governments, and they want to know, and we need to tell them who we are. So he went into a room, he literally locked himself in a room and thought about it. And he came up with these 10 descriptors of what it means to burn, what it means to be a burner. It doesn't define us, it describes us. So these rules, tenets, principles, like that everybody's coming up with, they're really defining the metaverse more than, they're really describing the metaverse more than defining it. And with Burning Man, he didn't describe the event. He had described the people. And he did it as a way to describe who we are when we're at our best. So these are the 10 principles of Burning Man, and I, for about 20 years, have been just teaching about the 10 principles. Because when they were first delivered to us in 2004, I immediately thought, yes, radical inclusion, gifting, decommodification, nobody knows what that means, radical self-reliance, radical self-expression, communal effort, civic responsibility, leave no trace participation, and immediacy. I don't have a problem with any of those. And in fact, I live them every single day. And I didn't even realize it. He just put into words what I was already feeling. By the way, this is also one of my favorite art projects ever, the picture on the other side. That's called Church Trap. And it was a church that was like up like a mousetrap with a little pin, and you would go inside, and there was this beautiful organ that could be played with sheets of music going across the top, and they burned it, as we do. But that is one of my favorite projects. Checking my new notes. So Larry didn't write them as, this is what you should do. He just wrote it as a descriptor of this is what we're already doing. So one of the founders of the Philosophical Center of Burning Man, his name is Caveat Magister. Yes, that is a name. And he wrote this great book called Building Scenes into Cities that really breaks down the principles of Burning Man. So besides this 20-minute talk, if you really want to dive deep, then Building Scenes into Cities is a great book to read. And I want to read a quote from it. Burning Man is a good thing, an important thing. It might very well change the world, but it will never be the world. On their own, to cover any and every eventuality of life, the 10 principles are not exclusive goods. And this is why I really think the principles should be folded into the foundation of what we build on the metaverse. If you look at, some companies have already done it. If you look at the community standards of AltSpace, those were based on the 10 principles of Burning Man. If you look at the company culture of Zappos or Google, you will also see commonality between the 10 principles of Burning Man because they were used that way. So let's dive into these. And I'm going to dive into them and connect them to Matthew Ball's 7 attributes. But if you also know the 7 rules by Tony Parisi, you'll see that they match up. We're all talking the same thing. We're just wording it a little differently. So it's like the interoperability of this fabric, that we can all do this together. Slightly different order than the card on the other one. So we're going to start with the first one that Matthew said, which is that the metaverse is going to be persistent. It's going to be without a pause button. You're not going to be able to end the game, start it over. It is a place that you can go at any given time and have it just be persistent. If you think of immersive social VR platforms like AltSpace, VR Chat, Neos, there are many now, Engage. You can go on the platform whenever you want and meet people, and they're there or they're not there. You can get together with your friends. There are scheduled events, but it is a persistent, live thing that is going on. It is life. Well, that matches up with participation, because if it's persistent, then you can participate in it. There's some things I really love about these principles, by the way. They're not individual. They all come together. So my favorite one is communal effort. That's my favorite principle. And communal effort basically says, create something larger than you can create yourself. So for any of you that are building a product or something in the metaverse, you can't do it alone. You need to have other people with you. And so that causes you and the project to be radically inclusive. You need to include people part of your project so that it can happen. And that means that they're participating. And there's an immediate need to the communal effort in order for the participation, the radical inclusion and participation to happen. And in a way, that's a way for people to gift their knowledge. You might pay them for their knowledge, but it's that feeling, that gifting feeling. So all of these fit together. No one functions without the other. In fact, lots of times if I'm doing a project and something's not really working right, I ask myself what principle is missing. And then I look at them within the project and I see what's missing. And if I do that thing, then the project just sort of starts sailing ahead. So it'll be synchronous and live. So it'll happen in real time. There'll be events, but it will be persistent. So there won't be any cap on users. That's radical inclusion right there, that everyone can participate. This, by the way, is why no one company can build the metaverse. Because if there's no cap on concurrent users, there's no cap on concurrent users in the internet. So if there's no participatory cap, then it's got to be a lot of websites, a lot of platforms, a lot of, so you can hop from one to the other. So this is also why interoperability, which is a huge conversation at this conference this year, needs to happen. So it needs to have a fully functioning economy. Web3, anyone? But it hasn't integrated. Like Web3 and Metaverse are like two different words. They like kind of go together. We'd like to try to fit them together, but they're puzzle pieces that haven't really happened yet. But at Burning Man, we have two things that are part of our economy: gifting and decommodification. So when you think of a functioning economy, you don't think that like decommodification, what is that? It's the removal of sponsorship and advertising and propaganda from your gift. You have to decommodify your gift in order for it to be pure. So gifting is just being able to say, I give this to you unconditionally, whatever it is. And you decommodify your gift to keep that gift pure. If there was a commodification to it, if there was a transaction to it, then there's an expectation of reciprocity. And so many people right now are doing whatever they can to create only to sell. And we lose something really important, because when we create to create, when we create as just the beauty of radical self-expression to gift to the world, then we create from our core of our imagination. But when we create solely for the purpose of selling, then we're creating to create a product that we think will elicit a transaction. I also believe that the metaverse should have decommodified spaces, places in which we can gather without all the propaganda. You know, propaganda and advertising really say one thing: that you're not good enough. You need to buy this thing. Everyone's doing it. Everyone has it. Be part of the whole. You need to spend money in order to be happy. That's not really that's an okay message sometimes, but not all the time. So we need public parks, zocolos, plazas, town squares, national parks, places where people can gather in the metaverse and be free from all of that propaganda and advertising. Be an experience that spans the digital and the physical worlds. Yes, augmented reality, virtual reality. How do we bring these together? No matter what apparatus you put on your face, your feet are still on the ground. So we still have to take care of this planet. We cannot go metaverse and just forget about the physical world. We don't exist. You can't upload your consciousness yet. We still need our physical bodies. Offer unprecedented interoperability. We need to be able to go from one to another, to another, to another. We have some little interoperable things that are happening, but this ultimately is going to be the greatest communal effort possible, possibly in human time. that all the companies and all the developers and all the people and everyone have to work together to come up with a common language that we can all build upon, that will all work together. Like, we've done some amazing feats as human beings. We built pyramids. We worked together to build giant stone structures. I've been all over Latin America and South America and looking at these huge, amazing stones. Like, how did they do that? They worked together. Well, we need to work together. And this is going to be really difficult. I know that the XR Association and the XR Guild are working very hard to figure that out. Create and operated by an incredibly wide range of creators. We give them the tools so that they can be radically self-reliant and that they can radically express themselves. Sometimes it's just inviting them into the project and being part of communal effort, and then they can radically express themselves. And then lastly is civic responsibility. And I put this in the middle because it's our civic responsibility. We all need to do this in order for us to have this metaverse. I have a lot of hope. I really believe that this metaverse, lowercase m, can be a proving ground. Much like Burning Man has built its city over and over and over again for 35 years. Does this work? Does this work? Does this work? We get an opportunity to do that. Is this working for the greater good of the whole? Is this working for the greater good of the whole? Is this working for all of the community to come together and be able to collaborate with each other across platforms, across country lines? We have people coming into immersive social VR now, and I can be standing in a room with somebody from Australia and mainland China and, what is it, Spain, Italy, Germany, all over the United States, Mexico, and we're all collaborating on the same project. There's no boundaries. That's our civic responsibility. So I have hope. This is our crew. I have hope that we can create a metaverse that is good for everyone, and that we will be able to come together, create the interoperability, and use it as a stepping stone for what we want in the physical world and design it in the digital world. Thank you. Yeah. We're going to take some questions. Who has questions? Or you know what? How about this? Questions or even comments. Is there something that I said that you just went like, huh, that was interesting? What came up for you? I would really love to learn, because I don't believe that everything I'm saying has to be within an echo chamber. I like to get feedback because it helps me develop and push this talk along. Can we get this? Yeah, we're on.
Oh, okay. There we go. Maybe a correction. The idea that we don't take it down. I mean, death is a persistent state. You know, we burn things at Burning Man. I mean, I don't know. Just that comment.
Yes. We embody our avatars. We can't embody more than one avatar at a time because we only have one consciousness. And when we're no longer able to embody an avatar, that avatar isn't persistent on the platform anymore. We actually just recently had this happen on AltSpace, because we all are a close family on AltSpace, and all of a sudden somebody disappeared. And everybody was wondering where they went. We communicate on Discord, but there was nobody could contact her. Nobody knew what happened. Unfortunately, she had a really bad heart attack and died. And it rocked the entire community. And we felt the loss. Her avatar, her embodied, her consciousness was no longer going to be with us in our communal space. So the platform itself, the space itself, the world itself, the earth, isn't going to go away. It's persistent. But us, as a conscious being in the metaverse, we can go away. Because if our consciousness is no longer around, then we're not going to be in that space any longer. They are really looking for this person. Anybody else? But that's a good point. Like the persistency. Oh, we're out of time? Okay, so we have another presentation. Come find me in the back, please. Talk to me. I would love to hear all of your comments and all your questions, and let's think tank this.